Okay, so next resume review today. At first glance, just to give some context here, um, this I converted this from a docx to a PDF file. So the original was a docx, and I think some of the formatting issues might actually be due to the conversion. So I'm not going to critique this from the perspective of formatting too much to a degree, because the double bullet points is probably due to my conversion errors rather than what was originally on your resume when you first sent this over. However, I'm going to take it from the top and see what I have. So first thing is, I've noticed that your career summary section is a little bit long. I think having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, having 6 lines for a career summary seems to be excessive, and I would cut this down by half and leave it as a maximum of 3 lines. I do think what you do have here that is good is you mentioned how many years experience you've got. You also mention some of the skills and tools that you've used, which is helpful. You don't need to mention that you're open to full-time contract or remote roles, because the roles that you apply for, the hiring manager will already know that, or the recruiter will already know that, unless this is going to be a resume that you're going to send over to recruiters specifically, and so therefore, yes, potentially having the longer career summary makes sense. But if you are applying directly to a position, then I'll cut this by half and remove basically all of this. I'll remove that entirely. Progressive experience in financial accounting, finance modeling, and budget management across diverse sectors, including agribusiness, banking, education, construction. Okay, I think this is good. The one thing that I'll probably add in here, given the fact that you are a finance expert, you should be able to mention some type of some financial numbers, in terms of the amount of revenue that you manage and are responsible for when you're doing growth modeling, etc. Skills and competencies section. The biggest issue I see here is that most of the skills and competencies mentioned here are irrelevant, or rather half of them are too generic. This is something that I seem to see appearing on resumes time and time again. Things like critical thinking, paying attention to detail, etc. These are things that every employer would expect every applicant to have, and it doesn't help to differentiate you in any way. Whereas the actual skills that are important are things that relate to the role and the job family that you've been working in for the past 8 years. So financial analysis, financial reporting, credit analysis, these ones are good. Remote collaboration also I would put in the same category as these four. As well, if you're applying for a remote role, they would expect you to have it, so therefore I would suggest that you don't include it. Also, this might be a formatting issue for me, but making sure that the sections are properly indented, or rather they are not indented, and they're in clear sections. So for example, I would probably either bold this and or have some kind of horizontal underline beneath career summary, skills and competencies, and competencies, I think. Yeah, so doing the same there. Also, I've noticed some irregularities with regards to your section. So in education, you put this in all caps, whereas skills and competencies is using title case, career summary is with sentence case, etc. So try to stick to one type of capitalization all throughout the different sections within your resume, just so that it's consistent. I also have an issue with the ordering. So you've got 8 years experience, so having your education and your skills and competencies showing before your experience is not ideal. I would put it the other way around, where your skills and your education comes after and your work experience comes first, because people tend to care about what you've actually done and the impact that you can have on their organization, rather than where you worked or what qualifications you have, especially if you're doing it for remote roles. One thing that I would say is there's no need to include the website URL of the company that you've worked at. What I would recommend you do instead is to mention what type of organization it is. So if NetworkX.ai is a SaaS business, then you should mention that they are a B2B SaaS company, etc. This just helps to contextualize your experience a bit better. And also helps to save space too. So you don't really need to have 4 lines of experience here, for 4 lines talking just about the company. Having the role you have, the company, and the dates is more than enough. And then instead of putting the location underneath, I would put that next to the title of the role, or next to the company, just to save space as well. I already mentioned about the bullet points. That might be a me issue, but just wanted to mention that. Okay, so this is the 5 hours of manual work weekly is where I see being the impact. So that should be bolded, and it should show up first. And the same thing goes for here. So if you're saying that you was able to increase profitability by 20%, then it should go first as the main one. Don't include any experience that refers to stuff that's generic as to your job and responsibilities. That's not relevant. Include mainly just the stuff that is showing impact, and that should go first. And again, I would keep it to the top 3 or 4 bullets max. If you can't think of a impactful metric to include for the stuff that you did, then don't include it as a experience bullet. There's no need to. Because then it just reads as generic. You know, if there's 100 resumes that's exactly the same as you, and they're all saying that they just do staff payroll management, accounts receivable, payroll maintenance, which everybody does in your field, then there's nothing differentiating you and the other people. So the biggest issue I see here is there is way too many bullets for roles that was done many years ago, and way too many bullets that do not have impact being shown, which is a concern on that front. I do like how you have separated your teaching experience from your financial work experience. I think this is actually really helpful and does help to add color to your resume. But again, the same thing occurs where it's about making sure that you show impact of what you did rather than just what you did day to day. That's the main things that I can see right now that need to be fixed. I'm just going to go through a separate list of notes and see if there's anything else worth covering. Yeah, not enough of your bullets mention metrics or numbers. I would recommend that you would include your target role in the header section, so that just makes it helpful for recruiters to see, okay, these are the types of roles that you're looking for, so that they don't have to read everything straight away to see it. When you do show metrics, one thing that I would recommend that you show, so for example, if you're saying you increase profitability by 20%, from what time period is that, and or what was the profitability like between those two time periods? Having that context in your experience help to further contextualize it and to show credence to the work that you've done. And make sure that you bold them, if I haven't mentioned that before, make sure that you do bold your bullets on that front. The other thing that I've noticed as well is the formatting of how you write dates should be consistent. So here you do month and year, right? And then here you do the month, but it's the first 3 characters of the month followed by the year, which is a different format to writing out the full month. And then here it's just a full year, just a full year, just a full year. And then we go back to month and year again. So then there needs to be consistency in how you're using dates, and just make sure that it's all the same. It's in all the same format. If you want to write it out in full, go for it. If you want to write it out by the 3 first letters of the month followed by the year, then go for that. This tends to be the format that I prefer. Is doing this because it's easy to see. Everyone can see this is December and this is January, rather than writing it out in full. And again, it helps to save space, and it will make your resume look cleaner. And I think if you do these changes, this should be able to bring this resume down from 3 pages to 2 pages as well. And as for location, you just should put the country that you're from, where you're applying to, the country that you're from when you are applying to jobs, and don't put your full address, and don't put anything that's irrelevant. No phone numbers, no full addresses, nothing like that. When you're applying for any kind of role, mainly. If you're applying for a role that's local to where you are, then obviously you'd want to put more information about your province and location and or your state. But there's no need to include that when you are applying for remote roles, especially when the companies are in a country that you're not based in. So, for example, if you're based in Nigeria and you're applying for roles based in the US, then you don't need to put your full location. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of what I would say But you need to, I think most of this is also passable, like can be passed through the ATS. The only issue that I have is, again, it's formatting. So when I'm trying to highlight this, as you can see, it's highlighting some texts and not highlighting others. And it's probably because of the double bullets, mainly due to when I converted this to a PDF. But I would recommend that you double check that, and just to make sure that it's all fine and can be highlighted, and maybe even consider putting this into an AI tool and asking how passable is your information. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this helps. Speak again soon. Take care. Bye.